My hope is that it may glorify the Father by blessing you. I was young and full of promise like most kids. I grew up and had a normal childhood out in West Texas with 2 loving parents, and I was always well provided for. Though I never knew my biological father, I knew Paul as my dad. He married my mother when I was a very young child, and the 2 loved me. He adopted me as his own, and I took his last name. But something was missing in my life. Something was creating a hole in my life. And I thought that it was not knowing who my biological father was. I was confused and I was too blind to see that I had loving parents all along. I thought there needed to be more. I was distancing myself and I was afraid of who I was and the thoughts that were going through my head, the lies of the enemy. And deceived by those lies, I began to make poor friend choices and all-around bad life decisions. My school performance began to suffer, and I was starting to get in trouble, more than any normal teenage boy. The more people tried to reach out to me, the more I pulled away. And it was like something was pulling at me, and I just couldn't get away from it. It was on a church camp out of Lubbock where I had my first cigarette and a warm, stale beer. And it all seemed so innocent. I never even felt it happening, but Satan was tightening his grip around me. The cigarettes turned into marijuana, and that turned into whatever I could get my hands on: cocaine, methamphetamines, LSD, you name it. I was skipping school, getting in trouble, and before long, the law was involved on a regular basis. It was to the point where quite a few officers in Lubbock knew me by name, and they would pull me over just on the off chance I may have something I shouldn't with me, and they were always right. Things were getting out of control fast, and I was running with a crowd that was a lot tougher than me. Deep inside, I was angry that I didn't know my biological father. I was angry at the world, but most of all, I was scared. I was scared that I wasn't good enough, scared that I couldn't be loved, and that there was no place for me in this world or beyond. I knew one thing, that I wasn't going to let this world walk all over me. I let that fear and I let that anger turn to hate, and I let it fuel me. The drugs and alcohol kept me from feeling. They kept me sedated, while darkness and evil built its stronghold within my life, binding me ever stronger. I had become a dangerous man, if you can even call what I was a man. I trampled on the innocent, not caring who I hurt. And my enemies and even my friends around the city, they didn't respect me, they didn't like me, they feared me, and that fueled me. That was my gasoline. That's what got me through the day. I even began running with a group called the Banditos up there for a while. And the Lord knows there was a lot of mischief that went on through there. Gunfights, drug turf, and the like. I now realize it was so juvenile and so selfish and foolish, but I prided myself on being the scariest, most unpredictable, and most volatile person that anybody who knew me knew. And fast forward to 2005, after being thrown in jail, though not for too long, the world moved on and forgot about me in such a short time. By the time I got out, I had nothing left and nowhere to go. My folks had moved away, and the day before I got out, I was given a choice: See, God was already working the chessboard, and he was bringing me to him, but I wasn't ready to receive him. I was told that I could move to Killeen and live with my folks while I recovered and got back on my feet, but of course there were going to have to be some changes. I played that game for a little while. You know, I even felt somewhere inside of me that I believed I wanted to be clean. But not even 2 months after returning back to work did the drinking start again. And before long, I was back into the drugs. And though I wasn't using the drugs like I was in Lubbock, the drinking just kept on getting worse and worse. See, I cleared out the evil that was in me while I was in jail, but I left it open. I didn't fill it with anything good. And when those demons came back, they came back with their friends. And, excuse me. And while the drinking got worse, it wasn't just at night anymore. I had to start needing to drink in the afternoons just to keep normal. Before I knew it, I was waking up to a bottle. I began living on my own again, had my own apartment. There was a bottle in every room. And before long, I had bottles stashed everywhere at work. I could show up to work and I could function. You know, some people didn't even know for a while, but that never lasted. Eventually, they smelt it on my breath and saw it in my behavior. I paid my bills and I fed myself, but I was dying inside. I had grown so cold to the world, and within me, there was only pain. I longed for death and the release from this world and my anguish. As time went on, the intake got worse. My tolerance went up, and so did the size of the bottle. I was drinking over a half gallon of vodka a day just to keep from shaking and going through withdrawals. And that didn't count all the Jaeger bombs and beers I would drink at the bar after work. My thoughts, however, and I don't know why, were beginning to change. I started to see God in little things and started to recognize his beauty in the world, though I couldn't see it in my own life. I was moved one day to make a decision, and I vowed abstinence for the Lord. That only in marriage would I ever seek the comfort of a woman again. I put away the meaningless one-night stands, and though I really didn't know why, I knew I couldn't break that vow to the Lord. But because of my addictions and because of my unholy lifestyle, I couldn't see myself getting married anytime soon. So I just kind of disconnected with humanity. And as that happened, I grew colder, and I became a robot. Had no feeling inside. Went to work, went home, filled a bottle, and that was my life. I was not taking care of myself, and my health was deteriorating. The alcohol was keeping me from feeling some of the pain, as long as I didn't run out. I passed a few kidney stones, even needing to go to the emergency room for one of them, being carried out of work on a stretcher from the pain. But as soon as the doctors ran the toxicology report, I was soon discharged. And because of my drinking, so many other symptoms going on inside of me were going unnoticed. But without insurance, I could not afford to go to the doctor and pay for my booze. So I continued to take the coward's way and continued to drink until I couldn't feel the pain anymore. It was a vicious cycle, and I was getting worse. The pain progressed rapidly to the point where some of my organs were simply starting to fail from my amount of consumption. My body was failing me and was beginning to shut down. More and more came mood swings, violent outbursts, and uncontrolled anger, coupled with paranoia, so much so that I stayed armed at all times, no matter where I went. Though some wonderfully kind Christian folks tried to connect with me, Their words fell on deaf ears. The resentment I had been holding on to towards the false believers of my past church experience manifested itself into the persecution I committed against those who only wanted to help me. Lost in hate, I strove to break them and torment them, secretly wishing to have what they had, and too proud to ask for it. I hardly spoke to my parents, and we almost never saw each other. But knowing that with the condition I was in, I may not have much time to see them, again I felt drawn to visit them in Santa Fe. I flew out to see them, and we shared a good time. They didn't say anything, but I'm sure they noticed that I was filling my Gatorade with vodka. When I returned home, I sat on my couch and thought. I thought about my health, the fact that I was dying at such a young age. I thought about my parents, how when I saw them, they looked so much older than I remembered them. And it broke my heart to think of all the time I wasted. All the years that had passed, and so much I couldn't even remember because of the haze that was in my head and the memory loss I suffered. Was all of this for nothing? Was it going to end like this? How could this happen? What was all this pain for? And what kind of God would allow this? It was in this moment that decades of repressed anger, guilt, hate and hurt, fear and rage culminated in a burst of emotion. My heart wrenched, pounding as if it were going to burst in my chest. My body twisted in pain as I threw myself onto the floor, and there I sobbed uncontrollably, screaming out to the Lord and pounding my fist to the floor while beating my chest. Prostrate before God, I pleaded to the Lord to take me from this world, rid me of these chains, and break my body once and for all. Father, I yelled, take me home, for I can go no further. My life is forfeit, and I can do nothing more. Father, take me home, I beg of you. A complete mess. I lay there, with years' worth of tears running down my face, sighing still for the Lord to take me home. There I was, a broken waste of life, unusable, unworthy, unlovable, filthy, dead in my sin, and praying for death, having thrown my life away. When by all earthly accounts, God should have done the holy thing and discarded me and in me, but not my God. My God is the Redeemer. My God is the God of many chances. He saw something in me of worth when I could not see it. Something worth saving. And as I lay there, I felt the firm grip of God's hand on my heart. And I felt him squeeze that evil out of me. And I felt that same hand, that hand of comfort, wrap itself around me. A comfort I'd never felt before. The comfort that I've been longing for my entire life. I can't even describe it. But his peace came over me. And he said, son, you are home with me. You are home here in my hands. I have never left you, and I never will. It was in that gentle